Now we also have to deal with the visual elements. So the director will shape the playwright's language, the plot, and the characters, and they will translate it into action by using spectacle or mise-en-scene or visual elements. So the director is the one who's shaping what you're seeing on stage based on the script, and they can go a number of different directions with this. Visual elements will include the physical relationship between the actors and the audience, which is where we're going to start. So we need to deal with various theater types. Our response to a production is in part shaped by the design of the theater space. The earliest and most natural arrangement is going to be theater in the round. And this is probably where we started human history. What we did is go back to ancient Egypt, or maybe even earlier. You would have a couple of actors and a circle of people standing around watching what's going on. Now, this is the most intimate kind of theater arrangement. Unfortunately, it also has some shortcomings. Chief among them is, as you're sitting there watching, at some point you're going to see the back of the action. Because usually the stage is spinning or the actors are moving around. So while there is a certain intimacy to it, you also lose parts of the story. Then we have the thrust theater. And this is also known as a three-quarters theater, because we have the audience on three sides. The advantage here is, again, we have a certain sense of intimacy, and we're not going to have the actors with their back to the audience, but the people on the sides are not going to have a great view. Consider, for example, if you are actually sitting over here, and suddenly you're seeing the side of the action. You're not seeing something particularly interesting. Then we have the proscenium theater. This is what you think of most of the time when you think of a theater. In fact, most events you go to would be in a proscenium theater. And here we place the audience at one side, viewing the action through a frame. And that frame is known as a proscenium arch. And as we look at the proscenium theater, the arch is actually right here. So this is the frame that we're supposed to look at. And we would imagine, going across the stage here, we could imagine this as a giant movie screen or a giant painting. And it gives us one way to look at and evaluate a production that we might see. We also see various experimental arrangements which exist, but many of them have shortcomings. The most important that we've seen has been where people can walk through. You would see a warehouse, for example, and you would walk through like an IKEA, starting at the top floors, walking your way down. As you move down, the actors are in the same room with you, sometimes interacting with you. And the problem with this is in experimentation, we have found that we need a certain amount of separation in order for us to let down our guard and go on that emotional roller coaster of the plot model. If our guard was down all the time, certain things wouldn't work. And this sort of proves the point. For example, a haunted house. If you go to a haunted house, you're not likely to assault the person who's apparently attacking you, or the werewolf, or the vampire, or Captain Kirk, whatever it happens to be. So what's stopping us from doing that? Well, we have our guard partially up. And this concept is called aesthetic distance. This is why you need to be a certain physical distance from the actors, from the action, in order to go on that emotional roller coaster of the plot model.